My name is Jayvon Rymer. I'm a sound designer on League of Legends, specifically on the champions and gameplay team. I previously was on the personalization team here at Riot.
Hello, my name is Alison Ho, and I am a sound designer on League of Legends, specifically working on teamfight tactics and the game modes. Previously, I was on the personalization team on League of Legends, as well as being the audio coordinator.
For those of you who may not know, League of Legends is a team-based strategy game where 2 teams of 5 face off to destroy the other team's base. The traditional and most popular game mode within League of Legends takes place on a map called Summoner's Rift. We currently have over 150 characters, which we call champions, from over 10 different factions within the world of Runeterra, where League of Legends takes place. All of these champions come with unique kits to fit each player's unique playstyle.
So within League of Legends, you can choose a variety of different roles to play. You can be the damage dealer, so being the main source of damage on your team, or you could be a tankier support where you can soak all that damage from the enemy team, or you could be a healer, so you can keep everybody on your team alive.
With over 150 champions, we really try to index on what that champion's sonic identity is within Runeterra. We really rely on the lore of the champion when making design decisions and how things could potentially play out within their kits. Let's take Ashe for an example.
All the world on one arrow.
Ashe is an archer within the world of Runeterra. She's from the Freljord, which is the faction that is associated with ice-based magic in the mountains. Her kit centers around frost arrows, which causes a slowing effect on other players in the game. So for her, we would want to incorporate more icy textures and Freljordian magic within her abilities.
So the reason it's so important for us to have these sonic identities for these champions is because what if in the future there is another archer with arrows that we're trying to design for? And actually we do have another character in our game called Varus who does have arrows and has a bow as their weapon. We want both of these champions to feel different from each other so that in a fight they sound easily identifiable the instant they walk into it. So you know for sure that this one is Ashe and this one is Varus, and that they will do different things in their kits and spells. We are always questioning, does this sound unique, and does this sound specific to this character?
We talk about unique sonic identity a lot because within a game, there are 9 other champions casting abilities at the same time. So having that unique sonic identity makes that spell more recognizable in game, allowing players to react appropriately. This really becomes important when in the middle of a professional game when communication can get a bit hectic.
Yeah, look at Kali flash. Volley no flash. First flash in. I can hold you. Cannon try. Yo, 1 minute. Yo, end bot or what? Yeah, we do. Look. Oh, he is minus. We did it! Cast your flash. She flash in. Just kill him.
So as you probably heard from the clip, things can get a little bit hectic when a fight breaks out. So that's why it's so important for these audible moments to feel very different and stand out when a spell happens, so that players can react within a split second and be able to do what they need to do within the fight.
Whether somebody's ultimate is going off and they know they need to peel back, or if they hear somebody's ability goes on cooldown. A lot of professional players have these twitch mechanics, which is like really quick flicks and like really sharp reaction times to current situations. So having those gameplay moments presented in such a way, it really allows them to make those quick second decisions. We took some time to talk about sonic identity and what kind of role that plays in that champion being able to be identifiable within the game space. But that's not the only thing that we look for while we design champions. We really try to highlight key gameplay moments and how to specifically represent them in game. In League of Legends, each champion has about 5 abilities, 3 lower tier abilities that are bound to the key bindings Q, W, and E, a passive ability, which you have no control over and just passively happens, and an ultimate ability, which is typically the most powerful and game-changing ability in their kit, which is bound to the R key. On top of these spells, you also have summoner spells, and these are interchangeable at the beginning of every game. You could choose from a variety of different spells, whether it is to heal yourself, use Flash, which is a blink ability, or regain mana. Aside from these spells, every champion has a basic attack, which is usually initiated by right-clicking on an enemy target. Depending on that class of that champion determines the level of damage it does and how audibly we represent that damage. For marksmen, they do a lot of damage with their basic attacks, so we put more emphasis and character on how those are designed, making them feel more powerful. Where we really try to like hone in on that very specific cadence that champion would have. It's something that the player could actively rely on to give them the sense of how they're performing. So for some marksman players, they really rely on when the sound is leaving their character and traveling to their target. Some people use that as a moment to cancel out of their attack animations. They need to be able to know exactly the moment in which they can cancel that animation so that they can attack again to put out the maximum amount of damage within that team fight or that fight. Mages, on the other hand, do more of their damage through their spells, and as a result, their basic attacks have less impact overall and should not sound as powerful as a marksman's.
So some of the champion spells are pretty high impact moments in the game, and because of this, they can be represented through sound effects, VO, or even music. So let's take a look at Ashe again. Ashe's E ability allows her to shoot a hawk that gives her vision anywhere on the map. Similarly, Ashe's ultimate ability shoots out a giant arrow that can also go anywhere on the map. But it can stun the enemy target for a few seconds, as well as doing a significant amount of damage. Ashe's ultimate is more of a game-changing ability, and because of this, it's way more important to know when she has cast that versus casting her E. The ultimate arrow cast sound effect has more of a propulsion and high-frequency energy content, as well as a strong transient and low frequency on her hit sound effect. The E, on the other hand, has a softer, more of a whoosh on the cast, and the hit is very diffuse and sits in the higher frequency spectrum. We definitely don't want people to feel like if they hear the E exploding versus the R ability exploding, that they are of similar levels of importance.
If we stick on the topic of Ashe, her Q ability has a passive where it increases her attack speed and amount of bolts she'll fire off, but there's a specific sound cue for whenever her passive is ready. So that actually serves as a really, really important tell for anybody playing against Ashe, but also for the Ashe player to say, hey, my Q is ready. I know I'm ready to go in. Identifying those big moments within a champion's kit and audibly trying to represent that in the most prominent way possible. We also take into consideration the type of ability that it is. So within League of Legends, there's different types of spells, whether they might be CC, which is crowd control spells that cause you to lose control of your character, or it may be a damaging spell or healing spell. An ability can fall into any one of these categories. So the one thing that we try to do is to keep consistency across the board. If we take the summoner spell heal, we try to keep that sonic language and keep that consistent between summoner spells and other champion abilities. We can break that down into 3 separate layers, which is like a chimey layer, a vocally breathy layer, and a tonal content layer, which is in major. We could take any one of these layers or any combination of these layers and start to inject that within each champion's abilities so that it can start to give you the sense of being healed without actually straight up being the summoner spell heal sound. Because one thing we want to avoid is using the same assets across multiple champions to cause confusions to the player as to what type of heal went off. Was it my summoner spell or was it a champion's heal going off? And it doesn't just stop at heals. We have a number of different spell types within the game. We have shields, we have speed boosts, and we try to keep a somewhat similar sonic language for each of them so that the player is able to identify what type of spell is happening at any given moment.
Shield it from yourself.
So while we do use HDR and WISE, we use it relatively sparingly for League of Legends for now. This is due to some constraints such as League being a 10-year-old game and players being used to its current sonic experience. We want to be very careful with any and all changes to the game as it can cause players pain. And it being a global esport, we have to be mindful of making too many alterations at once. However, we compensate for this through making purposeful design choices in the asset themselves.